Okay, Testing, testing. Okay, should be able to hear me. Something always comes up last minute. So just one moment. Okay. Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Discuss Gaming Live, where we go over the stories of the that came out over the past week in gaming, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on them. We'll be able to talk about them, and then we'll go from there. So let's get to the first story. PlayStation's return to social media sparks fresh backlash following digital-only announcement. After remaining silent for nearly a week following its controversial decision to phase out physical game disc, PlayStation has returned to social media, and the response from fans was overwhelmingly negative. Sony's official PlayStation account posted for the first time in 6 days on July 7th, sharing a promotional video for its upcoming wireless arcade fight stick. Rather than celebrating the new accessory, many gamers flooded the comments with criticism over Sony's recent announcement that future PlayStation consoles will abandon physical game discs. One of the most widely shared replies came from gaming preservation group Does It Play, which wrote, "Wireless fight stick? More like spineless corpo," accusing Sony of sacrificing game ownership in favor of an all-digital future. That sentiment was echoed throughout the comment section. Thousands of users demanded the return of physical media, posted photos of their disc collections, and criticized the company for what they see as an attack on game ownership. Others questioned why Sony chose to resume posting promotional content without addressing the backlash surrounding its announcement. Within the first hour, the promotional video reportedly accumulated more than 12,000 negative comments and nearly 4,000 quote posts, with very few users defending Sony's decision. The criticism stems from Sony's announcement that it will discontinue physical game discs beginning with future hardware. If those plans remain unchanged, the PlayStation 6 would become Sony's first digital-only home console, ending a tradition that has existed since the original PlayStation launched in 1994. Time out, time out. That's true that Sony's first console came out in 1994. But they've digital only. I don't. That's kind of iffy because isn't the PS5 Pro? Well, I guess that's optional. You could get one. You could get the disc drive if you wanted to pay more for it. But so I mean, just I called on the date, and I mean, well, I guess at least in the past people had the option where it now people won't have the option. Maybe that's ruining the tradition. The announcement has sparked a growing movement among collectors, preservation advocates, and longtime PlayStation fans. Many argue that removing physical media reduces consumer ownership, limits preservation efforts, and leaves players dependent on digital storefronts and licensing agreements. Adding fuel to the controversy in Sony's history with digital content. Critics have pointed to previous situations where purchased digital movies were removed from users' libraries after licensing agreements expired, arguing that digital purchases do not always guarantee permanent access. The backlash had also extended beyond social media. A petition launched by PNP Games CEO Jade Pierce has surpassed 160,000 signatures, with supporters urging Sony to reconsider its decision and continue offering physical editions of future PlayStation games. Some longtime PlayStation fans are now questioning whether they will purchase a PlayStation 6 at all. Instead, many say they are considering moving to PC gaming, citing greater platform flexibility, wider storefront options, and access to DRM-free games through services like GOG. Others believe Sony could still reverse course, pointing to Microsoft's decision in 2013 to abandon its original Xbox One policies after facing significant consumer backlash. At the time, Microsoft scrapped plans for mandatory online connectivity and restrictions on used games following widespread criticism and weaker than expected consumer support. Whether Sony follows a similar path remains uncertain. While some fans remain hopeful that the company will reconsider, others believe PlayStation is fully committed to an all digital future. Reports have even suggested that at least one manufacturing facility responsible for producing PlayStation game discs has already begun transitioning its production lines toward other products. But now, Sony's return to social media has done little to calm the controversy. Instead, it has reignited criticism from fans who continue to demand one thing above all else: the option to keep buying and owning their games on physical disc. Let me pull up something in OBS. Okay, so yeah, the I have to say, I do have to say that this is um, it's a blunder it's a mess up by Sony, and honestly, I'm seeing a lot more backlash from what Sony is doing than when Microsoft was tried this with the Xbox One original in 2013 when they tried to go all digital on the Xbox One and saying if you want to trade games with friends, you're going to have to trade the license, and that's just it's not just you're not going to be able to sell your games back to GameStop. You're not going to be able to sell them to someone else like on eBay or anything, um, because the license there would be it'd be you can't sell it to just whoever, and then that disc and wait until the disc is sold, and then you got that would never work because when you sell a game to GameStop and they sell it to someone else, you don't know who that person is unless you just happen to be in the store when it sells. Um, but now with Sony, uh, I've seen a lot of people. I've said this for a long time, but I think uh, it's probably it's probably it's probably more likely to happen now if it was ever going to happen, and that's with just the backlash. People have been canceling PlayStation Plus. As the article said, people are now reconsidering buying a PlayStation 6 at all, whether or not Grand Theft Auto 6 will be on it or not. So that's a good thing. I said it before, I'll say it again. In the like 2022, 2023, I had moved away from digital even on my Xbox One. And I was basically moving away from Xbox One games. I was going back to PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 because I have and just basically getting more of the games that either I wanted and never completed, that I had at one time and never completed, or that I never got to play in the first place. Um, as long as they were affordable with my budget. And um, and obviously that had no effect on digital. Digital just continued business like everyday normal. And I figured, well, I'm the only one who can do it. That can. I'm the only one. I can only control what I do. I can't control what other people do. But we knew this day was coming before even PlayStation made that announcement. Um, but I do have to say, one thing I was getting ready. I can play these games anytime I want, and I don't need an online connection. Um, and I'll show my disc also. Make it so you can see it. this is not as going as smoothly as I'd hoped, but whatever. I can play these games, and as long as I got electricity and the game works and my console works, I'm good to go. That's what, and that's honestly what I think I'm going to do if PlayStation does not reverse course. Because think about it, we all know Microsoft is going to do the same thing. There's, they're gonna, Microsoft is going to go all digital because they wanted to do it before Sony did. And then what's left? Nintendo? And isn't Nintendo already trying to do that with their key cards? Now, I do want to say some people. I watched RGT 85's video on this morning or this afternoon rather. And I do have to disagree with him because he was like, "What does gaming look like in the past? In the next 5 years or so?" And what I have to say to that is maybe not modern gaming, maybe not current day gaming, but I'm actually excited for retro gaming. Because if us and a lot more people are spending their time on retro gaming, uh, we're going to be going through games. Everyone that just chooses to go retro gaming, like I probably will, they're gonna be playing games that they've never played before, or playing games that they love but maybe never completed. And before anyone says, well, you probably know of every game. I already did it last time on Twitch, where I tried to name just 10% of the N64 library. And actually, I couldn't do it. I watched that video back. Um, a, I named three different games twice in that 29. And there's 288 N64 games. And if you say, well, a lot of them are sports games, and this goes for any console, a lot of them are sports games, so what if there are a lot of sports games? You know what? At this point, I would take Major League Baseball featuring Ken Griffey Jr. on N64 for a game or two, see if I could get used to the N64 controls, or because I'm used to playing PlayStation 3 sports games. Um, so even if a lot are sports games, okay, but there's still games out there that we maybe never heard of, or maybe that we heard of but never heard anything about, that we never got to play before. One game I'll bring up, 40 Winks. Other than the title and that it was released for N64 and PlayStation original, I know nothing about that game. So, like I said, maybe use your favorite AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, to suggest these games based on whatever console you already have. As many people that dunk on the Sega CD, there's good games on the Sega CD. So, maybe it all depends on what console you're interested in, and what's in your budget. And I don't blame anyone getting upset for digital, especially since these developers, or these console developers anyway, that want to go digital, they don't protect you. They're not looking out for you. If you get screwed, they say, too bad. Buy our next product, though. So, that's really, you got really three options here. You can either deal with whatever direction that gaming is going in. If you have the money, you can go to PC gaming, or you can go retro. My laptop, it can't handle anything current anyway. It's like anything uh, with my specs the way they are. I could probably run like something like a PS3 game from Steam, or PS3 era game from Steam. Um, or like on medium, maybe. Maybe I could stretch it to a PS4 launch title, because the technology and specifications that would be needed to run those games between a PS3 and a PS4 launch title was not that different. But my laptop that I use for everything couldn't play current games anyway. So maybe maybe instead of PC, I'll go to retro because I do have a lot of old consoles that still work. And you know what? There's, like I said, there's games I never completed. There's games that I wish I hadn't sold that I'd love to play again. More really in the first category. And that's where I'll spend most of my gaming time. Let me know what you think. Time for the next story. Microsoft layoffs hit ZeniMax hard as new filing reveals nearly 400 jobs eliminated. Newly released government filings have revealed the full extent of Microsoft's latest layoffs at ZeniMax, showing that 379 employees lost their jobs across ZeniMax Online Studios and ZeniMax Media. According to a Maryland WARN Act filing, 213 of those layoffs came from ZeniMax Online Studios, the developer behind the Elder Scrolls Online, while another 166 employees were let go from ZeniMax Media, Bethesda's parent company. The filing does not separate Bethesda Game Studios into its own category because Bethesda and ZeniMax Media share the same office location. As a result, it remains unclear exactly how many of those 166 layoffs directly affected Bethesda's developers versus employees working in publishing and other support roles. The Maryland filing follows a separate WARN notice in Texas that previously confirmed 136 layoffs at id Software, the studio behind Doom. Those job cuts were also listed under ZeniMax Media. The numbers paint an especially concerning picture for ZeniMax Online Studios. Reports from late 2024 indicated that the studio's employee union represented approximately 461 workers. Combined with a previous round of layoffs in July 2025 that eliminated 62 positions, the studio has reportedly lost 275 employees over the past year. If those figures are accurate, ZeniMax Online Studios now has roughly 186 employees remaining, around 40% of the workforce it had just over a year ago. That represents a reduction of approximately 60% of the studio's staff in a relatively short period. The scale of the cuts has surprised many within the gaming community, particularly because The Elder Scrolls Online has long been viewed as one of Bethesda's most successful live service titles. A LinkedIn profile from former ESO UX lead Gary Boudreau, shared online in 2024 before being edited, claimed the MMO had generated roughly $15 million in monthly revenue for more than a decade. While those figures have not been officially confirmed by Microsoft or ZeniMax, they have fueled questions about why a studio associated with a consistently profitable game experienced such significant layoffs. The gaming community had responded with frustration, with many pointing to Microsoft's ongoing cost-cutting efforts, despite strong revenues from several of its gaming divisions. Others argue that the layoffs highlight a broader trend across the industry, where even successful studios and profitable live service games are no longer insulated from large-scale restructuring. Although Microsoft has not provided a detailed explanation for the reductions at ZeniMax Online Studios, the WARN filings offer the clearest picture yet of just how deeply the latest round of layoff has affected one of Bethesda's largest development teams. Um, and with that, I have to say, are you really surprised that this was coming? This is something else I thought we could be sure of that was to follow. Now, would I say that? Well, when Phil Spencer was making decisions left and right that would make a normal person scratch their head and go, "Why make that decision?" He was losing money left and right for Xbox. So you have Phil Spencer making decisions that no sane person would make. I called him out many times on when me and Dr. Games 101 did this podcast together. Some of the clips are still up there about how I criticized Phil Spencer, rightfully so. And like I said, I don't know what took Phil Spencer's bosses uh, so long to remove him from what he was doing. So with so Phil Spencer, with Phil Spencer, with what he did, they're gonna have to make up the money that he lost somewhere with his bad decision making. I'm expecting more studios to have to either a have significant portion of their workforce cut, or to be shut down entirely because they gotta do something. They can't just kick the can down the road. If they were going to do that, they might as well have left Phil Spencer in control what he had control in. So, to but the thing is, they got to make that they got to make that money, and they got to do something different. So, I mean, it sucks. I never really cared about the Elder Scrolls Online, but come on, Doom has been one of my favorite games since I was a kid. Maybe like in the top five somewhere. Um, yeah, so it sucks. What happened with ZeniMax, but I would not be surprised if they are the if this is if it doesn't end with them basically. But I do think this is all connected to Phil Spencer's mess that he spent years creating. By the way, think about it. He spent years creating this mess, bad decision after bad decision. This is the same guy who said he knew when the Activision Blizzard merger went through, he was going to have to fire thousands of employees. He said he knew that. And that's just one of the many, many bad decisions that I've called him out on over the years. So yeah, the fact that uh, Microsoft has to shut down studios now. What did you expect them to do? Just keep losing money at the same rate? Like I said, it sucks, but Xbox itself might need to restructure almost entirely, or a significant portion of Xbox might need to restructure to undo this damage. So it sucks what happened to ZeniMax. It sucks what's happening to Bethesda. But at the same time, um, it was the former guy in charge that set these events in motion to happen later on. So it sucks, but I would not be surprised if this leads to more in the near future. Anyway, let's keep going. Next, Obsidian report: Obsidian shifts focus to new Fallout project after Avowed sequel is cancelled. A new report suggests that Obsidian Entertainment is turning its attention back to the Fallout franchise, after Microsoft repeatedly cancelled several projects at the studio, including a planned sequel to Avowed. According to Bloomberg, the change comes in the wake of Microsoft's recent layoffs across its Xbox division. The report claims Obsidian has shelved multiple unannounced games, with an Avowed follow-up among the projects that will no longer move forward. Bloomberg also notes that these plans are still subject to change. The restructuring appears to have significantly impacted the studio. A California WARN filing, first highlighted by GameFile, shows that 52 employees at Obsidian were laid off. Bloomberg reports that the cuts represent roughly 25% of the studio's workforce. Rather than continuing work on an Avowed sequel, Obsidian is reportedly preparing to begin development on a new Fallout title. The project is said to be led by design director Josh Scheuer, a veteran RPG developer best known for directing and designing Fallout New Vegas, which remains one of the most beloved entries in the series. While many fans are excited by the possibility of Sawyer returning to Fallout, the circumstances surrounding the project have led to mixed reactions. Some players had hoped Obsidian would continue expanding the Pillars of Eternity universe following the release of Avowed, while others were eager to see the studio develop entirely new role-playing experiences. Sawyer had previously expressed interest in working on another Fallout game if the opportunity arose, provided he had the creative freedom to approach the project on his own terms. However, the reported shift comes after substantial layoffs at the studio, raising questions about how the reduced workforce and broader restructuring could affect development. Neither Microsoft nor Obsidian had officially confirmed Bloomberg's report or announced a new Fallout game. As a result, the project's status remains unverified and plans could still evolve. If the report proves accurate, it would mark Obsidian's return to the franchise. It helped redefine with Fallout New Vegas in 2010. For many fans, that prospect is exciting, but it also serves as a reminder that the announcement may come at the cost of canceled projects and significant job losses within one of Xbox's most respected RPG studios. Yeah, so some people I don't I think it was RGT 85 again. I hate to say it was if it wasn't him, but I think it was because he did say, with Fallout New Vegas, if we do get Fallout New Vegas 2, it's not the people that worked on the original Fallout New Vegas are not there anymore. But as this article just said, what is his title um, what is Sawyer's title? Uh, a veteran RPG developer, uh, led by design director. He's leading the project. So he did, and so maybe maybe Fallout New Vegas the sequel is not so bad. Maybe Fallout New Vegas 2 will be like the first one. It'll be just as maybe not just as beloved, but it's going to be the same in spirit. You're not going to have because they like they said this guy that created the first one, he's the design director, he's in charge. The only thing that could really affect this then if the original creator if the original creator can't create something that people would love again is if he doesn't have the time or resources. I think that's something we have to look at. Is this guy going to have enough time to create Fallout New Vegas 2 like it should be? If if it's going to be called 2, and I'll just assume it's going to be 2 until we hear something else. But can he create Fallout New Vegas 2 like he should be? Can is he going to have the time to make sure that it's working on day one? Is he going to have the resources needed? Because with all this cost cutting and restructuring, I can't imagine the budget's going to be huge for Fallout New Vegas 2. So, while they got the creative director for the first one, and he said he'd be willing to come back as long as he could use his creative direction to make the game. We just gotta wonder, okay, do they have the budget? Are they going to be dealing with a slashed budget? Are they going to be dealing in a time crunch? Either one of those things could spell disaster for Fallout New Vegas 2. But when new reports come out of whether this is Fallout New Vegas 2 or just a different subtitle for Fallout and different entirely, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll bring that information as we get it. But until we hear something bad, I wouldn't assume Fallout New Vegas 2 is going to be a disaster unless we hear time crunch or slashed resources. But slashed resources is a possibility since they're restructuring to begin with. Next. Okay. So few games in recent memory have generated as much anticipation as Grand Theft Auto 6. Set to launch in 2026, Rockstar Games' next entry in the iconic series is widely expected to be one of the biggest entertainment releases of the year, with excitement reaching far beyond the gaming community. The game takes players back to the legendary Vice City, which has been expanded into the larger fictional state of Leonida, offering what appears to be Rockstar's most ambitious open world to date. For the first time in the series' history, Grand Theft Auto 6 will feature a female protagonist, Lucia, who shares the spotlight with a second playable lead in a dual character story. The new narrative approach, combined with the return to Vice City, has fueled enormous interest from longtime fans. With more than a decade separating Grand Theft Auto 6 from Grand Theft Auto 5, expectations are incredibly high. Based on everything Rockstar has revealed so far, the studio appears determined to deliver an experience that lives up to years of anticipation and establishes a new benchmark for open world games. How I wish that was true. How I wish that there was really nothing to worry about Grand Theft Auto 6 wise, which by the way, we still have not gotten a gameplay trailer. We got some mishmash of a trailer that was just I don't even know if they were cutscenes, to be honest, and that was it. It could have been before the title came up. It could have been Grand Theft Auto 6. It could have been Watch Dogs. It could have been anything. So, um, and keep in mind, the people at Rockstar that are making this game, they're these people are the same people who are make they didn't make Grand Theft Auto 5. They didn't come up with the personality of Michael and Trevor and Franklin. These are the people who worked on a DLC of 2020 and 2021 where characters are cringe. Where even returning characters that had already appeared in Grand Theft Auto came back and players were like, "What the hell happened to this guy? Why is he so cringe to even watch now when he was hilarious?" Those are the people making Grand Theft Auto 6. So that's so. I mean, if you didn't think any the characters in the DLC packs for Grand Theft Auto 5 were cringe, if you still thought they were funny, or you still enjoyed them, then this is probably not gonna. Then the creative direction is probably not gonna be something that turns you off. But if the but if you thought that these characters were cringe, the same people who wrote out these characters are designing the new game. And honestly, do you really think Lucia's going to even hold a candle to Catalina from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and Grand Theft Auto 3? More importantly, San Andreas, because in 3 she just turned her back on you and then you didn't meet her again till the end of the game. But in San Andreas, when Catalina and CJ were robbing those 4 locations, you think Lucia's going to hold a candle to that? I mean, when was San Andreas? San Andreas came out like 2004. I doubt any of the people that wrote Catalina's character in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s is working on Grand Theft Auto 6. So, it's and like I said, the biggest red flag is no trailer, no gameplay trailer. Still, usually by the time a game comes out on pre-order, they have a gameplay trailer. The fact that we still have not even heard of one makes me just go, well, that's concerning. That's concerning. That's concerning. That's the way I look at it. That's why my interest in Grand Theft Auto 6 is couldn't be lower. Um, maybe I'll be wrong. I am going to be completely interested in seeing uh, what people who are still going to get the game regardless. I'm still going to be interested in seeing what they think when this game comes out. Um, and I did hear for um, people who do want to play Grand Theft Auto 6 on disc, I did hear like the disc are supposed to come out like in December. So the physical release will might be just be a code in a box, but the disc is supposed to be coming out in December. There is supposed to be a disc eventually. Whether um so it's gonna be like, do you want to have the game day one months, a couple of months before people who wait, or do you want to wait for physical? Some people might just get both. Um, but yeah, just I don't have any confidence in the creative direction of Grand Theft Auto 6, with what I've seen in the DLC packs. But, um, we still got a few months before Grand Theft Auto 6 does come out. Next, Marvel's Rivals Season 9 introduces Jubilee, new game modes, and major gameplay challenges. Marvel's Rivals Season 9 is almost here, bringing a new playable hero, fresh content, and significant gameplay updates that will affect both team strategies and character balance. Jubilee joins the roster. The biggest addition in Season 9 is Jubilee, who joins the game as a strategist. Her abilities focus on supporting teammates by using energy plasmoids to heal allies while simultaneously damaging and temporarily blinding enemies. Her ultimate unleashes a spectacular fireworks display that can overwhelm opponents during battle. New map called Thebes. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Thebes. Season 9 also introduces Thebes, a brand new convoy map scheduled to launch on July 23, 2026. While the developers have yet to reveal many details, it will expand the game's multiplayer map rotation with a new battleground. Path to Doomsday continues. On July 30th, players will receive the next chapter of the Path to Doomsday event with the arrival of Avengers: Age of Ultron. This new mode sends players into Avengers Tower and Ultron's data space to battle Ultron and his robotic forces. Seasonal activities themed around the event will also appear in the game's Times Square lobby, giving players additional content to explore. Team Up system gets a major overhaul. One of the most significant changes in Season 9 is a complete redesign of the Team Up ability system. Every hero will now have two separate Team Up loadouts, allowing players to choose the one that best fits their preferred playstyle before a match begins. Loadouts can be switched during a match while inside the spawn room. Each Team Up consists of two parts. Base Effect, always active and provides the core mechanics and functionality of the Team Up ability. Enhanced Effect, unlocks additional bonuses or upgraded abilities when the required teammate is present in the match. As part of the overhaul, existing team-up abilities have been reworked, with several fan favorites returning alongside entirely new combinations. Black Widow receives a complete rework. Black Widow is receiving one of the largest character updates since the game's launch. Her traditional aim-down sight sniper mode has been removed from her standard kit and transformed into her new ultimate ability. That's a good thing? During the ultimate, players can enter sniper mode for a limited time. Okay, this doesn't sound so great. Firing powerful rounds with significantly wider hitboxes that can pierce multiple enemies. Although critical hits will no longer eliminate opponents instantly, the shots still deal heavy damage with no range damage reduction. Outside of her ultimate, Black Widow's primary weapon now fires faster, while her charged electroplasma blast has been moved into her standard ability set. The attack deals damage and slows enemies it strikes. Mobility has also been improved. Sprinting and super jumping no longer consume stamina, and her spinning kick remains intact. She also gains an entirely new aerial ability that lets her leap toward a target location before slamming into the ground with her Widow's Bite gauntlets, dealing area effect damage upon impact. With a new hero, additional content, sweeping team-up changes, and a major Black Widow redesign, Season 9 is shaping up to be one of Marvel Rivals' most substantial updates to date. Okay, everything I read about Black Widow, the ones that sounded the greatest were it still remains intact, what she had before. Her sniping ability, she can only do that for a time because it's now part of her ultimate attack. And what did it say? Although critical hits will no longer eliminate opponents instantly, they still do massive damage. Oh, well, thank goodness that they still do massive damage at least. But they don't eliminate opponents anymore. How are they trying to spin this into a good thing? You took a character that had a fatal attack, you know, with circumstances, and made it non-lethal. but they still provide a whole lot of damage. Wow, that makes up for it. Um, as far as I go, I've really never cared about Jubilee. Um, she was, I mean, I was the biggest part of me that loved Marvel was the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, and even like the X-Men Legends games. But Jubilee, to me, was kind of like just as notable as like Jean Grey or or someone else. It's like they're not the characters I care about. Obviously, I would hope. I didn't check the entire roster, but I would hope that all the characters that I would care about were no-brainers to be there since day one. But with what they did to Black Widow, now I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should have checked the roster for main rival for Marvel rivals. But if you're interested in that, this stuff starts will be here. Uh, the new map comes in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, 2 weeks really, and then that new game, the Path to Doomsday, the next chapter of that comes on the 30th. So if you are playing Marvel rivals, that stuff is keep an eye out for those additions. Time for the next story. Apex Legends heads to Night City with new Cyberpunk 2077 crossover event. Apex Legends is getting another major crossover, and this time Respawn Entertainment is teaming up with CD Projekt Red to bring the world of Cyberpunk 2077 and Cyberpunk Edgerunners into the Battle Royale. Following previous collaborations with Final Fantasy VII and Gundam, the latest event transforms parts of Apex Legends into a futuristic cyberpunk battlefield, complete with themed cosmetics, map changes, and new gameplay mechanics inspired by Night City. Cyberpunk characters come to Apex Legends. The collaboration introduces 8 new Legend skins based on iconic characters from Cyberpunk 2077 and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The featured character pairings include Axel as Lucy, Sparrow as David Martinez, Rampart as Rebecca, Crypto as Male V, or Male 5, Lifeline as Female V, or Female 5, Gibraltar as Royce, Loba as Panem, Ash as Lizzie Wizzy. Lizzie Wizzy? I would make jokes, but I'll move on. According to Respawn, each pairing was carefully selected to match both the appearance and personality of the cyberpunk characters. Night City takes over E-District. The crossover isn't limited to cosmetics. The game's E-District map has been redesigned with a Night City-inspired aesthetic, featuring neon lighting, futuristic architecture, and locations influenced by the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Developers say the map already shared similarities with Night City, making it a natural fit for the collaboration. New wildcard abilities inspired by cyberware. The event also brings cyberpunk-themed gameplay changes to wildcard mode, introducing 2 new cyberware abilities inspired by the anime's main characters. One ability is based on David Martinez's Sandevistan, allowing players to tap into enhanced speed and mobility. The other draws inspiration from Lucy, giving players access to Black Wall Breach, a powerful hacking ability designed to disrupt nearby enemies. These additions are intended to capture the unique combat style of the Cyberpunk universe while fitting seamlessly into Apex Legends' fast-paced gameplay. New weapons and skins including Skippy. Players can also unlock a collection of cyberpunk-themed weapon skins for several popular firearms, including the Wingman, Charge Rifle, Mastiff, L-Star, P2020, RE-45, R-301, and Kraber. The highlight is a new Mythic Alternator skin inspired by Skippy, the talking smart weapon from Cyberpunk 2077. Respawn says the weapon doesn't just resemble Skippy visually, it also features custom animations and voice lines, making it one of the studio's most interactive Mythic weapon designs to date. Community reaction. As with many crossover events, excitement has been mixed with criticism over cosmetic pricing. Some players joke that purchasing every event skin could cost more than buying Cyberpunk 2077 itself. Others pointed out that the complete edition of Cyberpunk 2077, including its expansion, has frequently been available on sale for less than the price of just a couple of premium Apex cosmetics. Despite concerns over pricing, many fans have praised the collaboration's art direction and the decision to bring one of gaming's most recognizable futuristic worlds into Apex Legends. Between the Night City makeover, new abilities, and character-inspired cosmetics, the event is shaping up to be one of the game's most ambitious crossover updates yet. Um, okay, I'm not gonna make fun of Lizzie Wizzy, name, even though I want to. But the thing is, with these cosmetics, one has to wonder exactly. Actually, I'm gonna pull that up right now. How much are the Cyberpunk cosmetics in Apex Legends? See if they have like prices revealed or prices. The Apex Legends Cyberpunk 2077 event cosmetics primarily cost 2,150 Apex coins each, roughly equivalent to $20 when purchased directly from the in-game store. Bundles and event packs are also available, which with select character theme skins can be unlocked for free through in-game event challenges. Okay, so with about $20 each, I'm not sure how many there are though. That's the thing. Uh, so yeah, there's. Wait a minute. So is each skin $20? Because if you get 8 skins, that's $140. I think no, 160. Yeah, 160. If each that's not counting the weapons. That's not counting and that's not counting all the other stuff that you can purchase. And one thing I do not want Apex Legends to do, um, Dr. Games 101 and Darkness the Curse joined me back in November of 2020. We do not want this to follow the Apex Legends to follow the trajectory of Dead or Alive, mainly 5 and 6 with their cosmetics. So, yeah, 8 skins, and that's $20 each. And then let's see how much the crossover weapons are. How much are the Cyberpunk weapons in Apex Legends? See if I can get an answer for that. It says the iconic crossover weapon skins are priced at $19.99 each, and that's for 8 weapons. So far you got 8 weapons, you got 8 characters, $20 each. So yeah, 20 times 8, that's 160 times 2 because it's for the characters and then for the weapons. That's $320 in cosmetics. And that's not, I mean, they did say that some of this can be earned in game if you don't want to have to buy Legends coins. But it sounds so much for a cosmetic. I mean, keep in mind, you're not actually buying these characters. You're just buying a skin that looks like them. Um, Maybe you got the money to spend it on it, but would you really buy it at $20 a pop? And that goes the same for the weapons that resemble the weapons from Cyberpunk. Um, it sounds overpriced to me. Um, but I'm not an Apex Legends player. I do wish Dr. Games 101 was here, but I mean, I could imagine that if he was here and we were covering the story together, he'd probably say he wouldn't have the money to buy it, or he'd have the money to get one with still keeping on top of the bills that he had to pay. So let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't spend money in online games. I don't play free to play games. Because the games that interest me most I'll actually buy. But then I hate when you buy a game and then they want to charge you more on top of that. That usually kills my interest in the franchise. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Uh, let me know what you think. Let's go into the next story. Okay, so Square Enix is shutting down Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis before the remake trilogy concludes. Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, the mobile and PC RPG that expanded the wider Final Fantasy VII universe, will officially shut down later this year. According to a statement from producer Soichi Ichikawa on the game's official website, the decision came after the development team struggled to maintain a sustainable balance between production cost and player demand for new characters, weapons, and equipment. Players will still have several months to experience the game before the servers permanently close on October 6th. Released in 2023, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis was designed as more than a mobile remake of the original Final Fantasy VII. The game featured a streamlined version of the classic RPG's combat system, while bringing together storylines from across the franchise, including Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core, Before Crisis, and other entries in the expanded universe. The game also introduced new narrative content, expanded Sephiroth's history, and added original characters who eventually became connected to the broader Final Fantasy VII Remake storyline. Alongside its serious story moments, Ever Crisis also featured more unusual alternate scenarios, including lighter stories that reimagine the cast in completely different settings. This is not the first time Square Enix has attempted to expand the Final Fantasy VII brand through a mobile title, only to shut the project down. In 2023, the company ended service for Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, a battle royale spin off that launched in 2021 during the height of the genre's popularity. Although the game's end is approaching, Square Enix says that Ever Crisis team still has plans for its remaining months. Developers will bring back previous events and release a final story update intended to provide a proper conclusion for players who have followed the game since launch. The shutdown has disappointed some fans, especially those who enjoyed the game's unique costumes, character designs, and additional lore. Some players have expressed hope that elements from Ever Crisis, including its outfits and story concepts, could eventually appear in future Final Fantasy VII projects. With the final installment of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy still in development, the closure of Ever Crisis marks the end of another attempt by Square Enix to expand one of its most popular franchises through a long-term mobile experience. It sounds like you're going after the wrong market for mobile. I don't know many mobile gamers that want something that's gonna uh, be be tied down to a Final Fantasy game if this game is as long as normal Final Fantasy games are or were. You know, if this game is as long as 15 20 hours, I don't see many people caring. And they said this isn't the first mobile game that they had to shut down with Final Fantasy. Why aren't they bringing this to console? I would think it would do better there. Um, and maybe make it free, and maybe not make it free to play. But make it where it like the other Final Fantasy games, like the Final Fantasy VII trilogy. It's make it where it's doesn't have to be online. Um, one price gets everything. I would just think it would do better on console. Um, Especially if it's the average length of a Final Fantasy game. I just don't know many mobile players that I would know. They'll play their game. They'll play it for like 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time. But you know how many times you're gonna have to play that game if this is a normal Final Fantasy in length? If you're playing it like in 10, 15, 20-minute bursts. So I'm just thinking, especially with this not being the first mobile project that shut down from Final Fantasy VII, I'm just wondering, why isn't this stuff being brought to console? I mean, you can't. Okay, we don't have the PSP, we don't have the PS Vita. I don't even think the 3DS is a thing anymore. I think that's done ever since the Switch came out. But bring it to consoles. Why are we putting Final Fantasy games on mobile? Um, but I've never gotten into mobile gaming, but the games that I have played and enjoyed, they were games that like you play for 5, 10 minutes. So it's kind of like I just don't see the appeal of Final Fantasy games appearing on mobile. And maybe with this being the second mobile project that shut down, maybe this is getting maybe this is actually um, delivering the message. But at the same time, I can see the appeal. I can I can see the appeal of you already have your phone, so you don't have to buy a Switch or a PlayStation. But wouldn't you already have that if you were a fan of Final Fantasy? Wouldn't you at least have a Switch or a PlayStation 5, or even if or even the PS4 at least? Although I don't think they make games for PS4 anymore. I think they finally finished that, bringing games to both systems. But I just don't understand. I just don't understand what audiences were clamoring for a mobile Final Fantasy game. If you want it to play on the go, you can just get it on Switch now, or you should try to get it on Switch. And when I say you should try to get it on Switch, I mean the people who made it. Um, so yeah, it sucks that they're shutting this down, but they're not out yet. It's one. There's still some more content to come out for that game before it does shut down. Um, so, but unfortunately, yeah, this is going to be the second Final Fantasy game on mobile shut down. Next, MindsEye Studio faces employee protest over community playtest event. MindsEye, the troubled action game from a Build a Rocket Boy, has found itself back in the spotlight, but this time the controversy is now not about the game itself. Instead, attention has shifted to an upcoming community event hosted by the developer that some employees are protesting. Build a Rocket Boy recently announced plans to bring a group of community members to its Edinburgh headquarters for an in-person playtest. The studio is reportedly covering the attendees' travel expenses, including flights to and from Scotland, as well as hotel accommodations, while also hosting a meet and greet with members of the development team. The event was intended to gather player feedback and allow fans to experience upcoming content firsthand. However, the decision had drawn criticisms from some current and former employees who argue that spending money on the event is difficult to justify following multiple rounds of layoffs at the studio. According to reports, Build a Rocket Boy has gone through several waves of job cuts over the past year, including a major round of layoffs in May that significantly reduced the size of the development team. Employees involved in the planned protest believe the company should be prioritizing support for remaining workers and those affected by the cuts rather than funding a promotional event. The protest is scheduled to take place outside Build a Rocket Boy's Edinburgh offices on July 11th. That's tomorrow, from when I'm streaming this, coinciding with the community playtest. The event itself was announced through the studio's Discord community in June, where Build a Rocket Boy invited a small group of community members and confirmed that travel and accommodation costs would be covered. A post announcing the demonstration stated that company leadership was spending thousands on the playtest despite hundreds of layoffs, calling on affected workers and supporters to join the protests and show solidarity. The Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain, which has previously been involved in disputes within the games industry, has also become involved with the situation. The union has criticized Build a Rocket Boy's approach to layoffs and questioned the decision to rely on fans for tasks that traditionally handled by paid development staff. In a statement shared online, the union accused the company of attempting to rebuild goodwill with players while employees continue to deal with the consequences of layoffs. It also claimed that community members are being asked to perform testing duties that would normally be handled by professional quality assurance teams. Build a Rocket Boy has not publicly responded to the planned protest or the criticism surrounding the event. The situation highlights a larger debate within the gaming industry over layoffs, studio spending priorities, and the increased use of community involvement in areas that were once handled exclusively by developers. Damn, I didn't know there were studios that actually would pay for your travel to come and test out a game. Um, that's awesome, but there's really this is what they should have done to get people to play um to remedy this whole problem. They should have made it like a convention. If you're gonna have like a meet and greet with the developers and they're gonna be able to play test the game, they should have said, "All right, we're selling tickets to this. Anyone that wants to come, anyone that wants to be part of this, we're selling tickets. And if you have to, limit the number of tickets you sell, and tell people. But if you're coming to this, you gotta pay your own transportation, your own hotel, all that stuff, and just pay for people to come uh, early play test the game at the convention. Like you would, like people would play demos and stuff, and basically turn it into a convention. Like that's what I would do. People can still check out the game, they can still play test it, and give their feedback, but make some money off it. Why? And I wonder how many people he was planning on paying transportation for. Um, how many how many people was he going to put up in a hotel? How many people were they gonna uh basically pay to come to this thing? It sounded like they should have just went the convention route, and if at most just limit the number of tickets that they could have sold to a convention like this. Um, but yeah, on the other hand, looking at the cost, I understand the studio. If you're laying off thousands of people, it's not. It's why are you you're paying for one thing that's not even usually needed when you can't pay for object A? Why are you paying for B when you can't pay all your expenses under the A column? Um, that also makes me wonder why. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out. Um, More ethically, I think it's wrong. Because like they said, so many employees are getting the facing the brunt of layoffs, but they want to pay to bring a small community to play test the game. Now, I don't mind, and the thing is, if you really just want people to play test the game, make it so they can try it from their homes. Um, Getting community feedback is I think is valuable because you're gonna find stuff that the developers overlooked, whether they meant to overlook something or not. So I don't have any problem with bringing people in to play test it, but I don't think they should have their expenses paid to do it. And like I said, just you should have just made it a convention that fans could come to if they were really interested. I still think they would have had some people show up. I don't know how many. I don't know how many they were, and I don't know how many they were planning to bring or how many they could afford to bring. But I still think if that wasn't on the table, but people got to play test this new game, I still think some people would have shown up, and then they get to meet with the developers afterwards. Sounds like something that could have been a fun event if they treated it like like a fan convention. But what do I know? So, time for the last story tonight. Unturned developer releases game source code to the public. Uh, Smartly Dressed Games has opened up the source code for its popular zombie survival sandbox game Unturned, giving the community art an opportunity to explore, modify, and build new projects using the game's foundation. The developer announced the release on July 7th, which also marked the game's 12th anniversary. According to Smartly Dressed Games, making the source code available is a way to show appreciation to the players who have supported Unturned throughout its long lifespan. The studio hopes the community will use the release to create new content, contribute improvements, and help expand the game's possibility moving forward. The source code is currently available under a custom license created by Smartly Dressed Games. This license allows fans to create non-commercial projects based on Unturned's code. The developer has stated that it eventually plans to move towards a more open MIT license. Yeah, MIT, though some third-party components within the game still need to have their rights clarified before that transition can happen. Originally released through Steam Early Access in July 2014, Unturned becomes one of the platform's most successful indie survival games. The title officially launched out of Early Access in 2017 and reached a peak of more than 112,000 concurrent players on Steam. Although the game's popularity has declined from its peak, Unturned continues to maintain a dedicated audience, regularly attracting between 10,000 and 15,000 daily players on Steam. The release is especially notable considering the size of the development team behind the game. Smartly Dressed Games currently consist of just two main members, creator Nelson Sexton, who developed Unturned, and community manager Molten Montreux. By releasing the game's source code, the small studio is giving its long-running community a chance to help shape the future of a game that has remained active for more than a decade. Okay, awesome. I wish more studios did that when it was time to end the game or lifespan of a game. Um, yeah, so I never even heard of this game, so I had no idea that it was out. Um, I've never played it, but this is the first I've ever heard of a studio saying, "Hey, you want to fix our game? You want to be creative with the game? Here you go. Just don't sell it." That's awesome. Um, look when Mickey Mouse fell into the public domain, what people were doing artistically, creating. Um, that's that's pretty cool of them. I wish more studios did this, especially like if games were going to go offline. They said, "Hey, if you want the source code, here's the source code. Go nuts. Just don't sell it. Don't sell whatever you don't sell whatever you improvise or change as your own, or at all." I think I wish more studios did that. That would, but if you played this game, or you wanted, or you know about coding a game, and you wanted to add things in that you thought should have been in, or didn't, or maybe that the team didn't think of because it was a two-man team, then yeah, you'll have to contact. I don't think it's Nelson. I think it's the other guy. Um, what's his name? Uh, Nelson Sexton was the creator and community manager. So, and they said it's through um, the developer. Da, da, da. They said it's to the community. I forgot. I'm trying to look to see where they said the source under custom license. To develop. So yeah, maybe you do have to contact Nelson if you are interested in this. But like I said, I wish more. I wish more game companies did this, especially if a game was gonna um, be, if it was coming to the end of a lifespan for the game. So but let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe to me if you did. Give me the thumbs up. We will have. I will be doing another stream. It's gonna be me playing new Super Mario Brothers on a Nintendo DS emulator. So I'll be streaming. That'll be my next YouTube stream. I don't know if I'm gonna be doing that Saturday or Sunday. I gotta get to work on the Patreon video for patrons. That's also gonna come out sometime Sunday. It could be the morning, afternoon, evening, depending when I get the video done. But that will also so you know the earliest I see myself streaming new Super Mario Brothers DS is on Sunday. Um, But yeah, I hope, please, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will be breaking these long streams up into clips when I go over news stories, just so people don't have to watch the whole hour long or hour long plus stream if they want to catch a certain story. If they want to catch a certain story, um, yeah, and if you haven't joined my Patreon, it's just $1 a month. You get an exclusive video every week, along with the rights to vote on the video. You get your name in the credits. As a Patreon supporter of any, is it worth is it worth to play? Is it worth playing in 2026 for any game I do, and for any and I guess I'll do it for the clips too, even though I haven't. But it was in these credits that listed Patreon supporters were also in the Patreon videos themselves. So just $1 a month, you get like 4 or 5 exclusive videos that you won't see on YouTube. And like I said, you also get to decide what will be the next video, because every time I upload a Patreon exclusive, I also upload a poll to Patreon where you can vote on my next video. So thank you for checking out this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will announce when I know for sure when I'll be streaming New Super Mario Brothers DS. I will make an announcement in my community post on YouTube, as well as making announcements on Facebook and X if you follow me there. Until next time, game on.